Welcome to SATV News. This is Riaz Mahmood with our headlines. Khaleda Zia receiving prescribed treatment, expected to recover, says Dr. SATV Zahid. Government ready to provide security to Tariq Rahman, says a Home Advisor. Special security to be ensured for those who need it. European Union satisfied with election preparations, says EU Ambassador, preparing large observer mission for polls. And now in details. BNP chairperson and former Prime Minister Khaleda Zia is receiving her prescribed treatment properly and is expected to recover, said her personal physician Dr. SATV Zahid Hussain today. Speaking to the reporters during a briefing in front of Evercare Hospital at noon, Dr. Zahid also said Khaleda Zia is responding to the treatment provided by a medical board comprising local and foreign specialists. Khaleda Zia was admitted to Evercare Hospital in November 23 with several health complications. As her condition deteriorated, she was shifted to the CCU on November 27, where she remains under close observations. A medical board consisting of doctors from the UK, USA and Bangladesh is overseeing her treatment. Tariq Rahman is constantly monitoring the situation and the interim government continues to extend its support, Zahid added. He urged the nation to pray for Khaleda Zia's recovery and avoid paying heed to any rumors. Dr. Zahid also informed that a specialist medical team from the UK will arrive on Tuesday to assist in her treatment. Meanwhile, BNP Senior Joint Secretary General Ruhul Kabir Rizvi said not only BNP leaders and activists but people across the country are deeply worried and sympathetic over the illness of BNP chairperson Khaleda Zia. He made these comments today while supervising a Quran Khani and the slaughtering of goats as Sadaqah is Zaria at his residence in the capital. Mr. Rizvi also said Khaleda had led the nation through many critical junctures, never left the country and remained beside people with courage and determination despite repeated attempts to remove her from the political landscape. Today, it is not just the BNP or its associate and front organizations, Yuva Dal, Chhatra Dal, Swechhasevak Dal and Mohila Dal who are worried. People outside the party are also gripped by the deep concern and sympathy. It is difficult to express in words the emotions surrounding her critical illness, he added. The government is ready to provide special security to those who need it, said Home Advisor Jahangir Alam Chaudhary today regarding Tariq Rahman's homecoming. His comment came following a core committee meeting at the Secretariat. Noting that the core committee did not discuss the issue, he said there is no security threat for anyone in Bangladesh. On security issues, we are ready for everyone. The Ministry of Home Affairs is ready for each and everyone, especially those who need something special. Regarding the election, he said there was a discussion about how many risky polling stations exist and how many are not risky. We need to plan the deployment accordingly, and we discussed it. The core committee meeting discussed the progress of body camera purchasing, and the advisor said cameras were being bought. However, he did not mention the number of cameras. Regarding the discussion on the border issues at the meeting, he said issues were discussed to ensure that nothing can enter through the border illegally. European Union Ambassador to Dhaka, Michael Miller, has expressed satisfaction with the overall preparations for the parliamentary election and the referendum slated for February next year. Following a meeting with Chief Election Commissioner A.M.M. Nasiruddin at the Election Commission headquarters in Agargaon today, he said a large EU delegation will monitor the election. The 13th parliamentary election and the referendum are scheduled to be held in the first half of February, and the CEC has said the schedule will be announced in the second week of December. The EU ambassador visited a mock vote exercise at Shere Bangla Nagar Girls High School on Saturday. 3 days later, the meeting with the CEC. Miller said the EU supports a timely, transparent and inclusive election. This is a big opportunity for Bangladesh. Miller also highlighted the EC's capability and commitment. The European Union is preparing to send a very large election observation mission in this election, he further added. Only 19.7% of eligible indigenous people are enrolled in 5 major social safety net programs in Bangladesh, said Transparency International Bangladesh. The findings were revealed in a study released by TIB during a press conference held today at the organization's Dhaka office. TIB stated that despite being among the poorest and most marginalized groups in the country, indigenous people are not prioritized within the social protection system. Gaps in laws and policies, complex application and documentation requirements, exclusion from policymaking and budgeting, limited access to information, language barriers and reluctance to engage with complaint mechanisms all contribute to their low inclusion. TIB Executive Director Dr. Iftikharuzzaman said that reducing disparities is fundamental to ensuring justice and establishing peace. The findings clearly show that justice has not been achieved. As a result, instability and dissatisfaction persist, he said. Viewers, we're taking a short break. Stay with us.
সারা দেশে লাখো মানুষের কঠোর কর্মতৎপরতা ও নিষ্ঠায় এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন 16 কোটি মানুষের হাতের নাগালে। দীর্ঘ 30 বছর ধরে বিশ্বস্ততা ও দ্রুততার সাথে সেবা দেওয়ায় গ্রাহক সেবায় এখন শীর্ষে। বাংলাদেশে গ্রাহক সেবার সাফল্যের পর এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস এখন বিশ্ব বাণিজ্য কেন্দ্র সিঙ্গাপুরে। আপনার যে কোনো পণ্য সিঙ্গাপুর থেকে বাংলাদেশে বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন। এসএ পরিবহন প্রাইভেট লিমিটেড, লজিস্টিক্স পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, 22 রবার্টস লেন, সিঙ্গাপুর 218302। ফোন 0065 629 24900। বাংলাদেশ থেকে সিঙ্গাপুরে পণ্য বুকিং এর জন্য যোগাযোগ করুন ঢাকা সহ দেশের যে কোনো 80টি শাখা কেন্দ্রে। এসএ পরিবহন পার্সেল অ্যান্ড কুরিয়ার সার্ভিস, আপনার সেবা সব সময়।
Welcome, Grand Palace Hotel, Dhaka. A majestic lobby blending timeless elegance with modern design. Experience 5-star comfort in suites and rooms. Sophisticated fine dining restaurant. Crystal clear swimming pool for ultimate relaxation. Modern gym and serene spa for well-being. Perfect venue for corporate events, weddings and parties. Seamless and secured. Elegant and eye-catching design. Indulge, relax, discover the first 5-star chain hotels in Bangladesh. Grand Palace Hotel Dhaka, 22 Kakrail, Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Welcome to Grand Club.
Welcome back. You are watching SATV News. A mild earthquake was felt in parts of Bangladesh, including Chattogram, in the early hours of today. The tremor, measuring 4.9 on the Richter scale, was recorded at 12:55 am, said BMD. The epicenter was in Minjin of Myanmar, 431 kilometers southeast of BMD's seismic center in Agagao. However, no casualties were reported following the quake. Now, news from abroad. United States President Donald Trump has called on Israel to maintain a strong and true dialogue with Syria, adding it is very important that nothing takes place that will interfere with Syria's evolution into a prosperous state. The statement on Truth Social on Monday came days after Israel launched its latest incursion and strikes on Syria, killing 13 people in the countryside outside of Damascus in what the fledgling government of President Ahmed al-Shara decried as a war crime. In the post, Trump heaped praise on the new Syrian government under al-Shara, which has vowed to unify the country following years of civil war that fueled sectarian distrust. The United States is very satisfied with the results displayed through hard work and determination in the country of Syria, he said. Donald Trump said on Monday that it appeared that Honduras is trying to change the results of their presidential election, alleging that the country's election commission prematurely stopped counting votes. If they do, they will pay. The people of Honduras voted in overwhelming numbers on November 30th. Trump said on his Truth Social platform. Honduran presidential candidates Nasri Asfura and Salvador Nasrallah were practically tied in the latest vote count on Monday, with both holding just under 40% of the vote in a tight race beset by problems with the results website. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro on Monday said he swears absolute loyalty to the Venezuelan people amid mounting tensions with the administration of U.S. President Donald Trump. Maduro, arranged by other top officials, spoke to a crowd outside the presidential palace after the government called a march to swear in new local party leaders for the ruling PSUV Socialist Party. Maduro was accompanied by his wife Celia Flores and Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello, as well as other top officials. Tensions between the two countries, including U.S. strikes against alleged drug smuggling boats in the Caribbean, repeated threats by Trump to extend military operations to land, and the designation of Cartel de los Soles, a group the Trump administration says includes Maduro as a foreign terrorist organization, have been escalating for months. Maduro denies any criminal activities. Four people were killed and 40 wounded in a Russian missile attack on the eastern central Ukrainian city of Dnipro on Monday, local officials say. The attack caused extensive damage to a university building, blowing out windows and scattering debris across its ground floor. Industrial facilities and a car repair shop on the premises were also hit, emergency services say. Ukraine's emergency services said a car service station, enterprises, an office building and 49 cars was damaged in the attack. The strike came amid an intensified diplomatic push to end the nearly 4-year war, with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visiting Paris on Monday, a day after his team held talks with U.S. officials. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Monday that Ukraine's priority in the peace talks was to obtain strong security guarantees from Europe and the United States. The Ukrainian leader also told at a joint news conference with the French President Macron that he waited to meet Ukrainian delegation tomorrow in Ireland to speak about the results of the negotiations in the United States. U.S. and Ukrainian officials held what both sides called productive talks on Sunday about a Russia peace deal. Earlier, Zelensky visited to the site of Dassault Aviation, the makers of Rafale fighter jets, in Cergy near Paris during a visit to the French capital. Ukraine will obtain up to 100 French-made Rafale warplanes over the next 10 years under a deal signed in mid-November at Kyiv, seeks to bolster its defenses against Russia's invasion. Russian President Vladimir Putin starts a 2-day visit to India from Thursday, pitching for more sales of Russian oil. missile systems and fighter jets in a bid to restore energy and defense ties hit by U.S. pressure on the South Asian nation. On his first visit in 4 years to the Indian capital for a summit with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Putin will be accompanied by his Defence Minister Andrei Belosov and a wide-ranging delegation from business and industry. Putin's visit offers an opportunity for Delhi to reassert the strength of its special relationship with Moscow despite recent developments and make headway in new arms deals, said Mikhail Kuzlman of the Atlantic Council think tank in Washington. Russia has supplied arms to India for decades, with New Delhi emerging as its top buyer of seaborne oil despite Western sanctions after Moscow launched its invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. However, India's crude imports are set to hit a 3-year low this month after the tightening of sanctions on Russia that coincide with its growing purchases of U.S. oil and gas.
Excellency, ये हमारे स्पेशल एंड प्रिविलेज स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की गहराई है.
Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan said on Monday that attacks on commercial ships in the Black Sea were unacceptable, issuing a warning to all related sides after an unmanned vessel reportedly struck a tanker off Turkey's northern coast. Friday's attacks on commercial ships signal a worrying escalation in the war between Russia and Ukraine, Erdogan told reporters. These attacks cannot be condoned. His government is issuing the necessary warnings to all parties, Erdogan added. Ukrainian naval drones hit 2 sanctioned tankers in the Black Sea as they headed to a Russian port to load up with oil destined for foreign markets, an official said on Saturday, as Kyiv tries to pile pressure on Russia's vast oil industry.
Ticaret gemilerinin hedef alınması endişe verici bir tırmanmayı işaret ediyor.
The White House said on Monday that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth authorized an admiral to conduct the strikes that killed 11 people on a vessel from Venezuela allegedly carrying illegal narcotics. White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt told reporters the admiral approved a second strike on the boat and was well within his legal right to do so. Writing on social media website X, Hegseth defended Bradley, calling him an American hero and saying he has his 100% support. Hegseth said he stands by Bradley's combat decisions on the September 2 mission and all others since. Starting in September, the U.S. military has carried out at least 19 strikes against suspected drug vessels in the Caribbean and off the Pacific coasts of Latin America, killing at least 76 people. There is no room for compromise when it comes to Taiwan's security. While freedom and democracy are foundational values that have nothing to do with ideological disputes, President Lai Ching-te told Army reservists on Tuesday. Speaking to reservists in the northeastern country of Ilan, Lai also said that is the face of China's coercion and harassment. The government had to spend more on its defenses and better. Lai also watched reservists flying drones, firing guns, throwing grenades and applying tourniquets to comrades during training. Taiwan's government announced a reform of the training of its reserve forces in 2021, including doubling down on combat and shooting exercises. The following year, it extended compulsory military service to 1 year for 4 months. Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces said on Monday that it seized full control of Babanusa, a transport junction in the country's oil-producing south. A video released on Monday showed armed men in RSF uniforms firing their guns and cheering outside a gate with an Arabic signage reading 22nd SAF Infantry Division Babanusa. The RSF also announced it had captured the 22nd SAF Infantry Division in Babanusa on Monday. Meanwhile, in a statement, the RSF said its liberation of Babanusa in West Kordofan state, the latest front line in the war in Sudan, came as it repelled a surprise attack by the Sudanese army in what it called a clear violation of the humanitarian truce. At least 13 people have died and 20 more were left injured after a landslide in Peru's Amazon region sunk 2 boats on the Usaili River, local health authorities said on Monday. According to Peruvian news agency Andina, 13 people have been confirmed dead and 28 people remain missing following the landslide that struck around 4:20 a.m. in a port area of Iparia, located some 415 kilometers northeast of Peru's capital, hitting 2 boats that were on their way to other towns along the riverside. One boat, Rapido Oriente, was completely submerged, while another, the Diorigo, suffered serious damages, Andina reported. The Diorigo was traveling from a nearby indigenous community and had stopped in Iparia, so passengers could disembark when the landslide happened, it added. Soldiers in Gampaha, Sri Lanka navigated floodwaters by boat to rescue people stranded by floods on Tuesday. The army also conducted clearing operations in the Nuwara area. Cyclone Ditwa, packing strong winds and heavy rains, brought the island nation's worst floods in a decade when it struck on Friday, setting off landslides in the hilly central region. The Disaster Management Center on Tuesday said that the death toll has since climbed to 390, with 352 missing. In order to quicken clearance and distribution of relief items from abroad, the Sri Lankan Customs had introduced a simplified system to clear relief items sent from abroad without having to pay customs duties, said its Director General Sivali Arkuguda. Before ending, we go through the headlines again. Khaleda Zia receiving prescribed treatment, expected to recover, says Dr. Ezadam Zahid. Government ready to provide security to Tariq Rahman, says a home advisor. Special security to be ensured for those who need it. European Union satisfied with election preparation, says the EU ambassador, preparing large observer mission for polls. You are updated with our top stories so far here on SATV, and to know the latest news, visit www.satv.tv. Stay with SATV.